Hola, hola, hello. I am recording this episode first thing in the morning with a cup of coffee in my hand because it's perfect for the topic that we're going to be talking about today, morning routines that will set the tone for the day ahead. Welcome to another episode of Spiritcraft, the podcast to nurture your soul and unleash the magic within. I'm your host, Marta, and it's very nice to have you here. We're going to start discussing what morning routines are and why they're important in our lives. A routine is essentially a series of actions that we take regularly, usually in a similar order, and it's a bit like a habit. Technically, a habit is pretty much involuntary from repetition. However, a routine is a conscious pattern that we follow. And I say technically because for some people like me, habits are rarely unconscious, except bad habits, obviously, because isn't that always the case? But that's a story for another time. Routines are a series of actions that we take, not on a special occasion, but they have a regular frequency, and this can be every day, every week, every month, every weekend. They help us know what to expect. They can help us free our minds and avoid having to think of many different outcomes and possibilities. We're going to be looking into this a little bit more in depth in a moment. We're also going to discuss some key elements of mindful routines, how to create a routine that's personal to you, and how to stay consistent. I hope this episode will provide you with the knowledge and tools to really ace your mornings. So let me have a sip of my coffee, go grab yourself a cup, and let's begin. The first thing that I want you to do is to think about your current morning routine and how it makes you feel. Is this a routine that allows you for a moment of quiet and relaxation before the busy day ahead, or does it leave you frazzled? Let's see if the following sounds familiar. The alarm goes off, but you're tired, so you decide to snooze for just 5 more minutes. Somehow 5 minutes become 10 or even 15, and now you need to rush. You quickly hop in the shower where somehow times become a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. That's a nod to my Doctor Who fans. And somehow you're late. No time for breakfast, so you'll grab something on your way to work. You rush out of the door, checking, or more like hoping that you have everything that you need, and power walk or even run to catch the train. So you then arrive at work sweaty, annoyed, tired, and wishing that it was time to go home already. I have been there myself so many times, and I've always ended up having a strange day, like I'm not quite there and like I'm trying to catch up all day long. Usually when this happened, I was tired by the end of the workday, and by the time I got home, I just needed to switch my brain off, either in front of the TV with some snacks or going out with friends, maybe to the pub. I would then feel like I did nothing for myself all day, so I would then decide to stay up late, and the cycle would start all over again. When we don't allow ourselves enough time in the mornings, we are already elevating our stress levels. We might be playing games with our mood, and we might also feel frazzled and out of sync with ourselves. A routine is something that allows us to stay focused and motivated. And you might not feel it when it happens just there, but it just gets you into that sort of state of flow, and it will set the tone for the day ahead. Bookstores are filled with books selling you the perfect routine and the way to a successful morning. Some of them go as far as advocating waking up at 5 in the morning to create the perfect routine in life. And while we might not have to go to that extreme, how we behave and feel in the first hour after we wake up is going to influence the rest of the day. The following quote is by Hal Elrod from his book, The Miracle Morning, and he says, "How you wake up each day and your morning routine, or lack thereof, dramatically affects your levels of success in every single area of your life. Focused, productive, successful mornings generate focused, productive, successful days, which inevitably create a successful life. In the same way that unfocused, unproductive, and mediocre mornings generate unfocused, unproductive, and mediocre days, and ultimately a mediocre quality of life. By simply changing the way you wake up in the morning, you can transform any area of your life faster than you ever thought possible. Basically, a mindful morning routine can set you for a great day. This doesn't mean that everything is going to go perfectly and according to plan and you'll get to the end of your day in a happy mood, because life still happens. However, it helps lower your stress levels and improve your mood overall, which might make you more patient and tolerant of others. So definitely starting your day with intention is going to help. Your morning routine is yours and yours only. You can choose to do whatever you want. However, there are some elements that are going to help you have a mindful morning routine, and we're going to talk about some of these now. You know I'm a fan of meditation, so it's not surprised that I've included it in this list. Our lives are busy just as they are, sometimes even from the moment we wake up. Having just a couple of minutes in the morning to practice meditation can help us slow down and take a moment of quiet and calmness before the day ahead. Now, meditation doesn't have to be sitting quietly with a quiet mind. Mindfulness meditation is about being aware of your surroundings and acknowledging any thoughts that cross your mind without staying attached to them. You can mentally scan your body to see how it feels. You can notice the sounds around you. You can repeat mantras. There are many ways to meditate. Next on the list is breathwork. Most of us go about our lives with shallow breathing, which is similar to how we breathe when we are stressed or in danger, afraid, and all of that. If nothing dangerous is happening around us and we take shallow breaths, our bodies will get the signal that they need to be alert, and we end up in this vicious circle of stress causing shallow breathing, causing stress, causing shallow breathing. Slowing down our breathing and using our diaphragm and our abdomen to inhale helps slow down our heart rate and reduce stress. Even when we exercise, such as when we run, there comes a point when we start breathing in a sort of chesty, shallow pattern, which in turn doesn't allow for enough oxygen to get into our body. I remember back when I was a personal trainer, I used to say, no matter how fast you go, always try to keep your breathing slow. I'm going to share a short breathing exercise at the end of this episode, so you can stay all the way to the end for that. While breathwork can be used to relax our bodies and our mind, it can also be invigorating. There are exercises that play with fast patterns that are meant to wake us up and keep us alert. I'm not going to share one of those today because I want to help you slow down in the mornings. And so you need to learn to breathe deeply. But also because those exercises can lead to lightheadedness and hyperventilation. And I would prefer to be able to monitor you personally as we go through that kind of exercise instead. But there are many resources online if you are interested in finding more about those. Guess what the last key tool for a mindful morning routine that I'm going to mention is? I bet you've never going to get it because I don't think I've ever mentioned it before in this podcast. It is journaling. Of course, I have mentioned it many times. Journaling is such an amazing tool that I recommend doing it at all times. In the morning, though, journaling can help us set intentions for the day ahead. It can help us explore our feelings about the day or any challenges we may foresee happening. Journaling can serve as a reminder to be grateful. Writing affirmations in your journal can help cement those thoughts. Just imagine the simple act of writing, "Thank you for a new day," every day can start changing your attitude towards your life. So I just want you to take a moment now. In the same way earlier we were thinking about what our current morning routine is, I want you to have a think and try to visualize what your ideal morning is. And of course, these are not going to match most of the time. What we're doing right now is not exactly the way we would like to be in the mornings. So I want you to have a think. See what sort of things you would like to have in your mindful morning routine. How do we go about setting our mindful morning routine then? The first thing that I want you to consider is what you want to achieve with this routine. Are you trying to feel energized for the day? Are you trying to set the tone for the rest of the day? Trying to create positive habits or to make changes to negative existing ones? If you're not sure about what it is that you want to get out of your morning routine, anything you come up with might feel clunky and like a pain. It will feel that way at some point anyway, but more on that later. If you're trying to feel energized, you could be looking at adding a short workout that will raise your heart rate. If you want to have a relaxed morning to be able to deal with whatever comes your way later, you might want to focus on meditation or a slow and easy yoga flow. For productivity, maybe you want to spend 20 minutes reviewing your diary and planning the day ahead. Or maybe you need a combination of all of the above. Once you know what your goal is, you need to take into account your lifestyle. If you're already waking up at 4:30 in the morning, chances are you're not going to be able to get up half an hour earlier so you can do a workout and journal. Be realistic about what you can do. Same if you're a parent that needs to get their child out of the door in time for school. You might get up earlier, but your time might already be allocated ensuring their breakfast is ready. Please don't get discouraged. We all have our ideal morning routine, the real life one, and if we're prepared, the worst case scenario one. The thing is to start small and gradually add elements or swap them for others. You can always build onto it as it becomes comfortable. But if you try to do too much too soon, it will feel impossible and you will become frustrated and will fail at it. That's what we're trying to avoid. But a side note, if that happens, or if maybe you're in that situation right now, the best thing you can do is to stop and reassess. What's working and what isn't working? What's the minimum that you can achieve? Strip your routine of all bells and whistles and go back to bare bones because you can add more later on. For example, here's my daily routine on a good or normal day. I wake up with my alarm and invite Watson, my dog, to come up to the bed with me for a bit if he hasn't woken me up already before the alarm goes off. We chill in bed for a bit, I give him some scratches, I tell him what a good boy he is because, this is a non-negotiable for him. He needs to know he's a very good boy. Then I get up, I take my first medication and do my usual getting ready routine, which will depend on whether I have a workout plan or not, whether I have to go into London that day and all of that. I normally get the coffee machine going and then I take Watson out for a walk. This allows me to spend some time outdoors first thing in the morning. And if we have plenty of time, I let him sniff as much as he wants to along the route. At this time, I normally listen to friends' voice notes and I reply if I can. Then we get back home and I pour some coffee while I get my breakfast ready. Depending on the time, he might get his breakfast then, or he has to wait maybe if it's too early for him. And then I take my next medication. If the weather allows it, I go out in the garden to have the rest of my coffee after I finish eating, and I take this moment to just be. I am present, I'm listening to the morning sounds. I am lucky that there's lots of birds in my area so I can listen to their songs. But essentially, I just take a moment to breathe. These steps that I've just mentioned, they always happen, whether it's a normal day or a perfect day. If it's a bad day, like having a pain or a fatigue flare-up, I might need to adjust based on what's planned for the day. But some of these are pretty much non-negotiables. On a perfect day, I will have time to do exercise and yoga as well as everything else. Because I normally do journaling in the evenings, this is not something that I add to my morning routine, but I do positive affirmations. The two things that I always make time for are my dog and breakfast. I used to wake up at 4:30 in the morning to be able to walk my dog and eat breakfast before going to work at the gym. No matter how tired I am or how dreary the weather is, going for a walk with my dog always improves my mood. And having time for breakfast signals my body and my brain that I am prioritizing myself and nourishing my body. Just think of what's important to you and see how you can fit that in the morning. You might be thinking that having been a personal trainer has helped me with discipline, and because now I work mostly from home, my life is easy anyway, so of course I can do a mindful morning routine. The truth is, mornings are very hard for me. My medical issues mean that my body is stiff and sore when I wake up, and I always feel like I'm coming down with the flu for the first few hours. Running in the morning, for example, would be my ideal routine, but my body isn't mobile enough at that time. Every morning, my first thoughts when I wake up tend to be along the lines of, I am so tired, I feel awful, everything hurts. However, right after I turn my alarm off, I have an automation on my phone that plays a song from a playlist that I really enjoy, and that helps me wake up and puts me in a good mood. Many years ago, I didn't even have breakfast at home. I would rush through the door and grab a coffee and a toastie on the way to the office. From the moment I got up until I was out of the door, it would take me half an hour max. And that was washing my hair included. Suffice to say that I wasn't doing any mindful morning routines at the time. But then my routine also changes with the seasons. In summer, I wake up with daylight and I feel energized mentally because physically everything still hurts. And I feel like I have so much more time before my day officially starts. In winter, however, the cold and the darkness makes everything harder for me. I just can't get going. My joints hurt and I don't want to leave my duvet. So my morning routine is completely different because it then focuses on listening to my body and what it needs, taking it slow and going through the minimum non-negotiables. And this sometimes means staying in bed longer, doing self-Reiki, and then having breakfast at my desk instead while working. Walking the dog sometimes gets pushed into later in the morning, which in winter he is very happy to oblige as long as I let him sleep on my bed while I work. Some of you have contributed with your morning routines, and it is very clear that everybody seems to have an ideal morning routine and a real life one. Ideal morning routines, they usually involve something around doing some magical rituals or some self-care or spiritual rituals, sitting maybe outdoors, somehow enjoying nature while having a coffee or while meditating. They tend to involve some sort of exercise, some sort of yoga and mindfulness, while real life morning routines are more about getting the things that we need done and getting us out of the door. Thank you so much for those who have sent in examples of your morning routines. I love that. We are all in this together. As you can see, there are some things that we all struggle with. When we're trying to create a morning routine, there are common pitfalls that we encounter that make it very difficult to keep it going. Some of them are things like overloading that routine. When we try to include too many activities all at once, we're going to end up burned out and frustrated, as I said earlier. So always start small and then gradually build up. As I said, maybe your morning routine is making sure that you have 5 minutes to sit down while enjoying your coffee so you can do some mindfulness. And that's okay. And once you start feeling like things are going well and you start seeing the results of that small change, then you can start adding more things into the mix. If we are trying to stick rigidly into a routine without considering how life changes, this can make it unsustainable. We need to be flexible. So remember, my situation changes, whether it's summer and it's warm or it's winter and it's cold. My body reacts in different ways and I have to listen to my body. Unfortunately, I am forced to listen to my body. So I invite you to do the same. Have a best ideal world routine and a worst case scenario one, so that at least when the worst case scenario things happen, like the alarm not going off, you still have some semblance of routine and it doesn't make you feel like you're just catching up for the rest of the day. Another common pitfall is when we ignore our personal preferences. So remember, your personal routine has to be yours and yours only. There's a lot of trends of routines out in the world, but they might not align with your personality of your lifestyle. And that can make you feel frustrated and it can make you lose your motivation. If you don't like yoga, then just because everybody's doing yoga first thing in the morning, that's not going to do anything for your morning routine. It's just going to make you start the day doing something that you don't like and forcing yourself to do it. And if you miss it because you don't like it, then you're going to start the day already being frustrated. So try to find things that you actually enjoy. Very, very important is to account for sufficient sleep. Again, I've mentioned this in previous episodes. When I was waking up at 4:30 in the morning, I was going to bed at 8 or 8:30 because I realized that I needed that time to rest. Was I missing out on friends wanting to chat or whatever was going on TV, on the news, the social media, whatever? Yes, I was missing out on some of that stuff. But I knew that having enough rest was very important for me to be able to function properly, to be able to feel rested the following day and have the kind of day that I wanted. I invite you to do the same. Try not to wake up extremely early in order to have a mindful morning routine. If you're still going to bed late, you're going to have to adjust your times. And it might be that it's only 10 minutes earlier that you wake up, and that's perfectly okay. You have to do you. Don't try to follow what everybody else is doing, but make sure that you don't neglect your rest. Even with the best intentions, life happens. And as we've been discussing with setting goals and creating our different spiritual life rituals, we are going to want to be consistent. And being consistent is easy when everything goes our way. When we start a new habit, it might be difficult, but we are normally excited about this change. And so how do we keep that momentum going? There are some tips that we can follow to help us remain consistent. But before I explain all of this, let me just remind you that progress is never a straight line. There's going to be peaks and valleys. You're going to do very well during a period of time, and then you're going to go off the rails for a few days or longer, depending on what's going on in your life. And that is okay. It doesn't mean that you failed. It just means that life happens. So whenever something like that happens, just get back into your habits and your routines as soon as you can. One of the things that can help with keeping your routine consistent is to prepare things the night before. You can set out your clothes, you can prepare your breakfast, you can organize your space so that you can reduce that decision fatigue in the morning. When the alarm goes off and you much rather be in bed, the easier the new routine is to accomplish, then the more likely it is that you will actually do it. Having an accountability partner, for example, that is a very good idea. You can share your goals with a friend, or you can join a community where you can motivate each other. It's always easier when you know there's someone on the other side checking in on you and going through the same changes even into their routines. So don't forget that you can have someone helping you going through this. We've mentioned this before on another episode, but habit stacking. So if you already have certain habits that you do every day as part of your routine, then it is a good idea to get new habits added into those. For example, if you always take your medicines first thing in the morning, then you can decide to have a big glass of water before you have any coffee, and you just add that sip of water that you normally take to take your medicines, then you can convert it into a full glass of water. For example, if you already have to walk your dog every morning, then maybe what you do is stack another habit to that, and that can be going for a jog instead of a walk. You can also add things that you do every day. Again, if every morning you're having a cup of coffee, then maybe what you do is take a couple of minutes extra and do some brief mindfulness meditation attached to that cup of coffee. You're doing those habits already as part of your morning routine, so it is much easier to add something onto that rather than replace or change the habits that you already have. Use alarms and phone notifications and calendar events to prompt you with each step of your routine. If you have a smart home, you can ask Siri or Alexa to help you, remind you of different things. Remember, I mentioned earlier, when I switch off my alarm, I have a song that I enjoy, or one of many, playing so that it gets me up and it doesn't allow me to go back into snuggling in bed. I put a song that I want to jump out of bed and start dancing and singing. I also use apps to track my habits and my routines, and this helps not only because they prompt me with a notification on my phone, but also because they give me a small dopamine hit every time I select a task as completed. We've also talked in the past about rewarding yourself. Any small victory is an opportunity to reinforce that positive behavior. You can treat yourself every time you do a week consistently, every time you do a month. Remember, I am not a fan of treating ourselves with food because that can create a different sort of relationship with food. But I would say at the beginning, start with whatever works. It can be things like getting a massage, signing up yourself for a class, I don't know, anything else. Just think of the things that actually matter to you. We're not trying to feel like we are taking things away from us or we are doing chores. What we're trying to is to get into the mindset that we are doing this for ourselves and to improve our day. Track your progress, keep a journal or a checklist so that you can visually see your consistency, which can boost motivation. And habit tracking apps are very good for this. I will create a resource with some apps that I use, as well as some books actually, so that you can check a few of them and see if they work for you. And finally, what I want you to remember is to be flexible and kind to yourself. So remember, life will happen and things will not go the way we want it all the time. Be prepared for flexibility, for things not going your way, to adapt. But even in the worst case scenarios, if everything else fails, be kind to yourself, because it's not the end of the world. You can always make a new change. You can always start from now, and that it's okay. There's another book that I like about our habits, which is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And there's this quote in there. Whenever you want to change your behavior, you can simply ask yourself, how can I make it obvious? How can I make it attractive? How can I make it easy? How can I make it satisfying? So I want you to think about this. If you want to start running every morning, but it's very cold when you get out of bed and you're tired and you have to go through your drawers to find your running clothes and you want to listen to music, but your phone doesn't have a lot of battery, you're just putting up more and more obstacles, which are essentially opportunities for you to skip that routine, to change that habit. So how can you make it obvious? How can you make it easy? Remove all these obstacles from that behavior. You can prepare, as I said, your clothes the night before. You can make sure that you put your phone to charge. If it's very cold in the mornings, maybe you can select your heating in winter to come up half an hour before you wake up. Maybe you can program your coffee machine so that when you open your eyes, the smell of fresh coffee hits you and it makes you want to get out of bed. Just try to make it easy. The easier you make it for yourself, the more likely it is that you will accomplish what you want. So once again, there's a lot of information in this episode, but I hope it's been helpful. Just to recap very quickly, we've been talking about why having a mindful morning routine is important and how it can affect the rest of your day. I want you to experiment with your own routines in the mornings. Find what works best for you. There's going to be pitfalls, there's going to be mistakes and things that don't work well, but that it's okay because we are flexible and adaptable, so we can see what works and what doesn't, and then change that routine accordingly. Treat it a little bit like an experimentation or even a game. Start every day with wonder and curiosity about what's going to happen next. Remember, if your morning starts being stressful, rushed, and complicated, the rest of the day is going to be already following through that energy. But if you are allowing yourself to start your day in a calm manner, to take the time to listen to your body, to nourish your body, then anything that happens on top of that is an add-on. Having a consistent mindful morning practice is going to help you deal with stress in a better way. It's going to help you to remain focused during the day and motivated and energized. And that's going to have an impact in your life long term. So what I want you to do is to try out at least one new element in your morning routine this week. Don't go all out. Just try one new thing. Think about what's important to you and think about what you want to get out of your day and out of this morning routine, and add at least one new element. I would love if you shared your experiences on social media or in the comments, through email. I want to learn about what makes your mornings better. And if you are not sure about how to make your morning better, get in touch and we can have a bit of a brainstorm. As usual, please subscribe if you enjoyed this episode, leave a review, or even share the episode with other people that might find it helpful. I'm going to start with a breathing exercise now. So if this is it, then thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you will be here next week. And until then, keep unleashing your magic within. We're going to go through a short breathing exercise that's going to help you relax your nervous system. Let's take a moment to center ourselves with a deep, calming breathing exercise. This will help us relax and reconnect with our breath. Find a comfortable position, either sitting or laying down, and gently close your eyes. First, let's become aware of our breath without trying to change it. Just notice the natural rhythm of your breathing. Feel the cool air as it enters your nose, and the warm air as it leaves. Notice how your chest and belly move with each breath. Now, I want you to place one hand on your belly and the other one on your chest. And as you inhale deeply through your nose, allow your belly to rise, filling it with air, like a balloon. Feel the hand on your belly being pushed outwards, while the hand on your chest remains still. Slowly exhale through your mouth, feeling your belly fall. Let's repeat this together now. Taking deep, full breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Continue breathing deeply, focusing on the rise and fall of your belly. With each breath, allow yourself to sink deeper into relaxation. As you inhale, imagine the air filling you with calmness and peace. As you exhale, let go of any tension or stress. Inhale, filling your body with calm. And exhale, releasing all tension. Continue to breathe slowly, deeply, and fully. Let's take a few more deep breaths together. Inhale deeply. And exhale fully. Again, inhale. And exhale. When you're ready, gently bring your attention back to the present moment. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Maybe stretch your body. And when you feel ready, slowly open your eyes. Notice how your body feels now. Calm and centered. You can return to this practice whenever you need a moment of peace. Thank you for breathing with me.